Hi, boys and girls. Happy Tuesday. Hope everybody had a great weekend and a wonderful Memorial Day. So, today we are going to kind of backtrack and review a little bit from terms that are commonly used in the plot of a story. So, I wanted to kind of review different literary terms that you will see, and then we're going to do a Google form just to remind you. So, two that are going to be on the form are ones that we've talked about throughout the year: the protagonist and the antagonist. So, the protagonist, that's the main character or the character that you follow throughout the story. So, in short version, it's the good guy or the good girl, the person that you're rooting for, the main character, the good guy in the story. The antagonist is the character or the thing, because it's not always a person or a character. Sometimes it can be the antagonist can be weather, or it could be like a tornado, something like that, that causes problems for the protagonist. So the protagonist is the main character, aka the good guy. The antagonist is the character or thing that causes problems for the protagonist. So that's why they have a picture here of Little Red Riding Hood. The story is about her and her journey through the woods. The antagonist is the person or character in the story that causes issues for Little Red Riding Hood. The setting, we've all talked about setting millions and millions of times. That is when and where the story takes place. So where is it, and when is it happening? Then the conflict, on the form, it actually calls it complications. That's the same thing. So a conflict is basically any problem or complication that happens in the story for the protagonist. And remember, we talked about this before. It can be man versus man. So the conflict or the problem can be between the protagonist and another character. The problem can be between the protagonist and themselves. So they can have like an inner struggle. It can be man versus society. So that would be like when we read Number of the Stars, it was Anne-Marie and Ellen versus society, the way the Nazis and the society were treating the people that lived in their community. Or it can be man versus nature. So that would be where the protagonist has to deal with a weather-related or some sort of nature, something that happened in nature that causes a problem for them. Point of view, we've talked about a million times. That's the perspective in which the story is being told. Is it being told in first person, third person, first person, second person, or third person? And then the plot, which is the series. It just means it's a series of chronological events that the story takes place. So remember, you have the introduction of the story, the exposition, then the rising action, the climax. That's when everything kind of goes down. Then that's the main part of the story where things get the action happens. Then the falling action is where things start to get wrapped up, and then the conclusion. We've talked about foreshadowing. That's when they give you kind of like a hint of what's to come. We have talked a million times about the theme, the message or the moral that the author is trying to teach you. And then irony, that is something that is unexpected or a shocking situation to what is actually happening in the text. Okay, so for today, I will post these terms. These are all terms that are used in novels and short stories. I will post that in Classroom, just for you to reference if you forget what a protagonist, antagonist, setting, conflict, all that. But for today, I'm going to bring up the form just so you can see. So it will say at this top, story vocabulary. And these are the different terms that it's going to be referring to today: plot, setting, complications, aka conflict, the protagonist, and the antagonist. So please make sure I'm going to take the email address off. Please make sure that you put your name here. And then it's going to go through and ask you what each of these things are. The character who is an enemy of the main character. Which one of these choices is it? Problems that get in the way of the character who is trying to reach a goal. Remember, I told you guys that conflict and complications are the same thing. So if you see the word complications, it just means conflict. I'm just going to go through because this part is just vocab. And then part B, it gives you a little sentence here. It says, Anna teams up with Kristoff. It's talking about Frozen. Read this brief passage from the movie Frozen. Anna teams up with Kristoff and is in a race against time to find Princess Elsa and free the kingdom from winter that may never end. Anna must endure difficult conditions and many challenges to save her kingdom. So, obviously, who is the protagonist of Frozen? Who's the main character in that passage? The passage above mostly indicates details about Frozen's what? Its plot, like plot means the events of the story. Is it mostly about the setting where it takes place? Is it mostly about the antagonist or the bad guy? What is this mostly about, this little passage? Then it's part C is asking you to identify the following elements. So it's going to give you an example, and you have to identify which element of the story that is. Then same thing for number 9, an evil witch tries to capture a princess. The witch is the what? Which part of the story is it? Is it the protagonist, antagonist, a complication, the setting? It's one of these 5. The plot, the setting, complication, protagonist, or antagonist. And then finally, part D, it's going to give you a fable, one of Aesop's fables, The Lion and the Boar. You need to read the passage and then answer the questions about the story vocabulary. So who is the protagonist in the story? Which is not part of the plot? What is the protagonist's goal in the story? And how does the story end? And what complication does the boar encounter? Okay, so those are, this is what your form is going to look like for today. It is 20 questions. If you have any questions, please message me. Try and message me, do a private message, and I will get back to you pretty much as soon as I can. If you are super confused and you would like to do this form along with me or have me kind of walk you through it, please sign up for the Zoom meeting tomorrow at 12:45, and I will walk you through it, help you out, explain the terms, just if you are confused. Or if you just have a quick question, you can private message me. Do either or, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. Have a great day.